Hi, my name is Kara-Leah from the Yoga Lunchbox, and today I'm talking to Denise Payne, who has been living and teaching in Bali for about 8 years. So I'm guessing in that time, Denise, you would have seen a few Kiwis and Aussies come through your
I've
classes.
I've seen my share.
Yeah, so you've been based at
Definitely.
the Yoga Barn, right, over there in Bali?
Yeah, for almost 8 years.
What have you been doing? What have you been teaching? Give us the lowdown for those of us who may not have come across you and your work before.
Yeah. Well, at the Yoga Barn, I taught power yoga primarily and hatha, which is really, I consider myself a hatha teacher, and also yin yoga.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you've
Yeah.
been doing teacher trainings for a while there, haven't you? So you're not just teaching classes, you're doing trainings as well.
Right. I was doing trainings there as well. And I started a program about 6 years in Jakarta, 6 years ago in Jakarta, doing teacher trainings
hmm
and teacher trainings in the States before I moved to Bali too.
So how did you get into yoga? Because you've got like 3 decades of experience on the
I
mat.
do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's I love, I'm just thrilled to even be able to talk about it. So thanks for having me here today. Yeah, I met my teacher when I was 8 years old, actually, and he was a Sikh guru. And I started studying with him when I was 15.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a completely different path than most people that I know, actually. Like we did yoga in the back rooms and we didn't really talk about it. You didn't, now it's cool to do yoga, but it wasn't cool in the 70s.
So what was it like as an 8-year-old meeting this person who Sikh, right? And so
Yeah.
different, I imagine, from everyone around you. As an 8-year-old, do
Yeah.
you remember what that was like? Your sense of him as a man, as a being?
I, hold on. I just lost feed. Hold on. I don't know where you went. Um,
I can still see you, so we're good on this
okay.
end.
Okay, great. Well, I'll just roll with it then because I can't see you anymore. Yeah, I totally remember it because I grew up as an only child with a single parent, my dad, and I just remember seeing this man walking down the street. He was in full Sikh dress and all white and a long white beard, and I thought, like, this is like God walking down my street. And so then every day I would always look out the window and see if I could see him walking down the street. And one day I did, and he had on jeans and a yellow t-shirt with Fateh on it, which is Punjabi for victory. And I went outside to meet him. And it turns out that the first day that I saw him, he was coming back from Gurdwara, the Sunday service at the ashram that just happened to be a couple blocks from my house. So I became friends with him and his family. He had kids. And by the time I was 15, I was studying Kundalini yoga and like full on one-on-one for almost 20 years with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that sense. Like I watched you on YouTube teaching, and there was something about the way that you were teaching. There was a real ease in it, like a
Mm.
real presence and ease. I'm like, oh, this woman's done her thing, like
Oh,
yeah, it was just a sense I had and so now when you're sharing that story, that makes sense. It's like, that makes sense. So
mm.
that was Kundalini yoga that you were immersed in for so long, but you're not teaching Kundalini yoga. So how did the transition happen?
You know, for years, one of the philosophies that was really important to Sajivan Singh, my teacher, was complete liberation from this human experience and the cycle of death and rebirth. And so there's a real strong focus on liberation and your connection with cosmic consciousness. Excuse me. And he really felt like he was ready to just be completely liberated. And I always felt like I wanted to come back. I said, why would I want to do practices that liberate me when I can keep coming back to through this human experience and keep doing great things with yoga and just being a part of that kind of group collective that really takes care of each other and human beings. So he wanted to be liberated. I wanted to come back over and over again. And so we actually fought about that a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, in the best of ways. Anyway, so you don't practice headstands in Kundalini yoga because it closes off your crown chakra. And I kind of just became the rebel and I mastered headstands and went on to study other practices. And I struggled with it, but then I was reading a lot of Vivekananda, and in one of his books, he says, it's good to be born in a church, but it's not good to die in one. So I thought, all right, I'm taking this turban off and I'm doing different stuff. So I did.
That's interesting. And so when you made that shift, from a philosophical perspective, I don't know a huge amount about like the physical underpinnings of Kundalini yoga. Did it feel like, and I'm just feeling into this right now, so what it feels like you were saying to me is that it's more about transcendence. So transcending the physical experience, transcending and leaving, liberating yourself from the coil as such.
Yeah, for my teacher particularly, for Yogi Bhajan, that was that was his focus, and for my teacher, who is very close to Yogi Bhajan, that was his focus.
So when you shifted into, say, power yoga or vinyasa yoga or yin yoga, was there a corresponding shift in the underlying philosophy? Like, did you start suddenly doing more tantra style philosophy? Or because excuse my Sanskrit, so can you say his name again? Vivekananda?
Vivekananda, yeah.
Vivekananda. So he was a tantra yogi, right? Like Kashmir Shaivism?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you started to read it, that's what I'm curious about. Did you begin to shift more into that lineage, or did you just sort of free yourself from all lineages per se?
Yeah, I've freed myself from all of them, and am grateful for the foundation and discipline that Kundalini yoga gave me. But I really just wanted to know everything. I wanted to study every style and know the different lineages and teachers, and it's amazing. It's just like a trip every day. You know, you can read a new book or learn it about a new yogi or something. There's so much out there. It's vast.
So when you're teaching now, when you're working with students in the classroom, what's informing your approach? Like, what's the foundation for you? What is it?
Well, I would say it's the system of the chakras. And I owe a good portion of my knowledge of chakras to my friend Anodea Judith. I don't know if you're familiar with her books.
Yeah, I love her books.
Yeah. So I've known her for a long time. And when I first read her books, I don't know how many years ago, really changed my ideas about how chakras are in just a day-to-day life and the roles that they play. So in Kundalini yoga, it's different because you're channeling upward for liberation. And Anodea was more about, let's get grounded. Let's talk about manifestation and the downward current. And so it was just this whole approach to the chakras that was different, that changed me as a teacher and as a person and how I see students in the world. So when I'm teaching a class, it's always based on the chakras. How I work with students in developing them as teachers, it's always through a chakra-based philosophy. Even though I may not be talking about it at the time, that's really where it's coming from.
I love Anodea's work and how she really relates the chakras to some solid human psychological development. And then, 100%. It just makes it so real and so grounded. And then the way she looks at the character archetypes or the body armoring that occurs. So do you find when people walk into your yoga class that you're able to perceive what's going on for them on a psychological level because of that chakra framework?
I don't really know, because I don't want to evaluate people there's a little gnat in my room. Sorry. I don't want to evaluate people when they come in. A lot of people know that I do this kind of walking I don't know what it's called, but I should come up with a name for this, but people will ask me to watch them walk, and then I can kind of give them it's like a scan, an energetic scan, and I can tell them amazing things about themselves, and they're always really freaked out about it. So a lot of people will come up to me and go, "Can you watch me walk? Can you watch me walk?" They would do that after class a lot. But students coming in that I don't know, I feel like I just don't really look at people that way. I want to do the first thing that I do in a class is just get people grounded, no matter who they are or, where they're coming from. So it's always first chakra. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It almost feels like you need permission to actually look at people in that way. Like if people are coming up to you after class and saying, "Hey, watch me walk," for the purpose of seeing stuff, you've been given permission to do that. Yeah. You're in an interesting place right now with your yoga teaching. You're in a bit of a transition zone. You're no longer teaching at Yoga Barn, is that correct?
I know, it's weird. I'm not teaching anywhere, which is, this is the longest I've gone without teaching for probably more than 20 years. It's been 2 months.
Wow.
I
How's
know.
it feel? How's it feel like to have a 2-month break from being in front of students?
I'm mental. I'm absolutely like mental. I don't know what to do with myself. So my son's getting ready to start high school, and that's why we moved. That's why we're here in the States. So he starts a week from today. And it's, so it's a lot of focus on that shift for him because he grew up in Bali.
Yeah.
So it's just been kind of transition period, and I would love to teach at a studio here, but so far my travel schedule is really tricky from September through March. So I'm not really having any luck with any of the studios.
Yeah, that is true. Because you've got a teacher training, right, in September, like the whole month of September in Bali. You're doing a teacher training, and then I saw you're doing a yin training in December. So I imagine there is a bit.
And a 200-hour the 2 weeks of November before that December training. I'm in Jakarta also. And then I'm back in Bali in January at Soulshine, and then I'm back in Jakarta in March. So it's just, all I have to do is mention my schedule, and the studio owners are like, no, we're good.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, isn't it? To be able to, like, how do you do regular classes when you're coming and going so much, right?
I don't know what to do with myself,
Yeah. So tell me about Soulshine, because are you going to be doing something with Michael Franti? That's the word on the street.
Yeah, he's got a retreat center in Ubud. Maybe you've heard of it, Soulshine.
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah, and Yoga Barn is, man, just such a beautiful, I don't know if you've ever been there. It's so beautiful, and it's just so full, and I feel like it's, I'm kind of like making space for other people, I feel like, by leaving and really giving people permission to really step into their own teaching roles and leadership roles there. And Soulshine, I just love those guys. It's a smaller venue. It's a residential place, and Michael and the group there, it's just, it's a little bit more home style, I guess you could say. It's not as much of a production.
So what are you going to be doing there? Are you just teaching classes on a short-term basis, or because you said you're in there January for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm doing teacher trainings there. We've partnered, and I'll be doing teacher trainings there, but with Soulshine's name. So we're going to be using Soulshine teacher training, and it'll be me as using my curriculum, and I'll be doing the teaching. They're 21-day trainings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, does that mean that Michael's going to be hanging out, like playing music on your trainings?
I hope so.
Now that would be a bonus. Sign up for training with Denise and you get Michael doing the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because you do kirtan and chanting on your trainings, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that. I'm like, that's not often included in 200-hour trainings, like, because you only got so much time, and sometimes it feels like those things are left aside. And I like the fact that you not only did you have like the art of mudra in there, but also kirtan and chanting. So tell me why you include them, why they're important to you.
Yeah, there's, it's great because when I started studying with Satjivan Singh, the first 5 years was mantra and mudra. There was no asana for 5 years. I sat and practiced mudras, and we chanted for like hours and hours a day. And so that seems to me just like, how could you learn about how to teach? I mean, people come to teacher trainings for a lot of different reasons, to deepen their practice or they really legitimately want to teach yoga. And so even just understanding the depth of Gyan Mudra or the depth of Om or any mantra I think it's a huge part of creating that wholeness in a class, whether it's a 60-minute class or a 90-minute class.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too.
Yeah. Let's switch tacks for a moment, because when I was doing research on you, I came to an interview that you had done talking about teaching yoga in prison, and not just in any prison, but in Jakarta. Was it in Jakarta? But it was in...
No, it was in Bali.
In Bali.
Prison, yeah.
Yeah, and you did this for like 5 or 6 years. You started the program. How did that come about, and what was that like? Because I imagine that prison in Bali is a little different from, say, prison in the States or in New Zealand.
It's very different. So how it started was I'm friends with a woman, Joanna Witt, in Bali, and she had started a jewelry making program in the jail. Somebody had reached out to her, said they wanted to learn something. And Kerobokan is notorious, right? It's Hotel K. It's this really kind of dangerous, famous prison. And she went in there and she started this program, and she had been doing it for about a year and a half before she and I became friends. And one day someone in the prison, when she was there working on her program, one of the guys said, "Hey, do you know anybody that would want to come in here and teach yoga?" And so she gave him my number, and he called me the next day. It happened to be Myuran Sukumaran that contacted me. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No, I'm not.
He's kind of a legend. He was one of the Bali Nine.
Okay, and so the Bali Nine were...
Okay, so Bali Nine were a group of 9 guys out of Australia and one girl that got caught in a smuggling heroin kind of debacle.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so Myuran he contacted me, and he was on death row at the time. And we started this yoga program together. He was a huge inspiration, and I would say one of my greatest teachers.
Wow. What was that like? Did you have hesitation about stepping into that? Or were you just gangbusters, let's do this thing?
A little bit of both, actually. My friend Joanna, because I knew her and she had been going in, so I thought, well, it can't be all that bad. And then when I got there, Myuran met me in the area where he could meet a visitor. And I just knew the minute I saw him, I thought, oh, I'm going to be fine here.
Mm.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, because there's a perception around criminals or people that smuggle drugs, etc. And yet there you are walking out and you just know, oh yeah, I'm sweet with this guy and I'm going to go in and start teaching yoga.
Yeah, totally. He was amazing. And, he went through his whole process of change, and he's, I don't ever think that I really believed that people could change for some reason, even being a yogi and being non-evaluative and conscious. I never really truly believed it in my gut until I met him, because he's a guy that really changed. And so now I know that it can happen. People can change.
Mm-hmm. And did you see that?
Amazing.
Did you see that change over the course of time that you were working there, or had it happened beforehand? Or
it had happened beforehand, and then it continued to happen. His heart just outgrew himself. Really, he was amazing.
Wow!
So that was a really lucky for me that I got to teach in that prison and meet the people that were in there. That you just do something stupid and you're stuck in a shithole, basically. Yeah. And then there were also guys in there that did some they're all serious crimes, but you meet I would never ask anybody why they were in there. That was just something you don't do, really. Because then I don't want to judge anybody. They're just in there. And I had like 25 guys that did yoga every week with me. They were amazing.
And you also taught a couple of them to teach yoga as well. You trained a few teachers when you were there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It didn't go so well, but I really gave it my all. Right.
I like that. Yeah. But even that, you were like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to train teachers in jail to teach yoga. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was, one guy really wanted to do it, and then I gave him all the stuff, and then I never saw him again. So, and then there was another woman that was in there, and it's just hard. Her sentence ended, and she was doing her studies with me for a while, and then her sentence ended, and she was stuck in there for like another 8 months. So she was just super bummed out, and she's like, I just can't do it. So, so then I had other teachers that I'd worked with that I just started taking into the prison with me, and they started teaching the classes.
Mm-hmm. So even though you're not there anymore, that program is still ongoing?
No, because there was the execution happened. Myuran was executed, and just over 3 years ago. And after that, it was hard to keep the program going. I was able to start it up a few times, but then they get a new warden, and then you have to start the process again. And then I just kind of got, it just became really, really difficult. I would still, you know, try to get somebody in there to teach, but they just made it more difficult.
And what was it like when Myuran, was that how you say his name?
Myuran, yeah.
Myuran, like you would have
Yeah.
worked with him fairly closely for a few years, and then he was on death row. So was there always a sense that he would end up being executed, or was it unknown?
You know, I guess I didn't really think about it. I always just thought that the president would do the right thing, and that the government would see the reality and the truth in what he had really brought to the prison. He changed lives for 10 years. And so it was really shocking when they came and got him at like 3:00 in the morning. He was just gone. So, and then they moved him to another island, and I visited him twice there. I was actually there during the weekend with his family during the execution. That's not something I'd ever want to do again.
Yeah, I can feel that for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Denise.
Yeah, Waheguru.
Yeah. So looping right back around again, you're not living in Bali anymore because your son's starting high school. Was that a hard decision to come to, having been there for 8 years? That's your life. The States is a very different place.
Yeah, it's really weird. And, you know, honestly, we tried to move to Italy for about 6 months. I put a lot of energy into that. And, I could get a student visa for my son, but they wouldn't let me stay there for 4 years. So we kind of butted heads with Italy for a while, and then finally just said, oh, forget it. Let's just go back to the States. We're not going to have to deal with visas or work permits. Let's just go and settle in for 4 years. And he got into such a great school. He starts Monday, and I'm just stoked for him. And so that's what it's all about. You know, like I'm gutted to have to leave Bali and Yoga Barn and our family and friends that are there. But this is, you know, it's his turn. He gets 4 years.
Yeah. That's I'm a single parent as well, and I understand that those choices of it's not just one life I'm navigating now, it's 2 lives, and what's best for what's best for both. Because I think if I wasn't a single parent, I might be living in Bali.
Right. How old are your children?
My son is 8. So and we have like he's going to finish primary school, and then he and I are going to have a conversation around whether we go on adventures together. So, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. Well, let me know where you are. I'll meet you there.
Sounds good. Okay. So before we finish up, I want to know a little more about your teacher training, because you are going back to Bali. You've got a teacher training in September, and then November, and then December, and then January. So if people want to spend, time with you, there are plenty of opportunities to come and imbibe of your awesomeness. So how would you describe, like, what kind of teacher do you attract, or what kind of teacher trainee? You know, because every program has a slightly different energy, vibe.
You know, it took me a long time to figure out what I'm really good at. And I think it's important that we know what we're good at, no matter how long it takes. And I know that one thing I'm really good at is making a teacher a really great teacher. So it to me, in my trainings, it doesn't matter what style you want to teach. And this is confusing for people. They're like, well, are we going to learn vinyasa or hatha, or what are we learning? And I really kind of push it back on them and say, what do you resonate with? And what style are you passionate about? And that's where I'm going to start from. So I'll have 25 people in a training, and everybody's different. And that's really exciting to me, that we can have one person that wants to teach yin, and that's where their focus is, and the other person wants to do power yoga. And so I can kind of, work with that individual in a group context, and it's really successful. Everybody can follow their own passion rather than me telling them how to do something or what to teach. I just want to help them kind of tap into that magic that's already in them, and their potential that, that they might not even know they have.
I love that. So you're really working on the person as such rather than delivering techniques or sequences on specific styles.
Totally. I mean, I cover verbal cueing. I think I have one of the best verbal cueing programs, honestly, in the world, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen. And that comes from I owned two studios in the States before I moved to Bali. And I had a lot of teachers come and audition, and I would see like what isn't working. And so I developed my whole program and what really does work. And it's based on how students learn. So it's just different. It's unique.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the trainings before we wrap up?
Well, for September anyway, there are a few spots left. So I'd love for people to get in on that training. And then if people want any more information, they're welcome to contact me in any way.
Awesome. Denise, thank you so much for coming
This
on
is
the Yoga
awesome.
Lunchbox. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Really good to talk to you and to get to know you better.
Thanks a lot. We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.